Welcome, one and all, to the world famous, the universe famous, known throughout space and time as literally the genesis of all human culture. It is the Rage Select Podcast, and I am Jeff. I am your podcast host. I feel like I've been here since the beginning of time, Nick. I've just been sitting in this chair, in front of this microphone, talking about video games forever, since birth, really.
Pretty much, man, as long as I've known you.
Yeah. It's funny. A lot of times, it's an interesting thing where when you first come onto the internet, and someday, I don't know, you may have experienced this already with your world, universe, space and time famous History Buffs show. But the thing is that it's like I came on and we started doing this show, and I had a beard and this guy, and I'm like a cranky 30-year-old, and people are just like, and so people, they can't think that there was a day when I wasn't already a cranky 30-year-old man with a beard. And I'm like, no, man, I was a stupid 17-year-old at one point with no beard and like way more hair. I had like
you were still cranky though, right?
Well, I was always pretty cranky, but that's just that's one of those things. You just get that genetically. It's all genetic. That was before they started giving kids lovely drugs to correct their crankiness. If I was a kid now, they'd just be like, oh God, you just shoot him up with like, I don't know, everything. Just give him all the drugs, and we'll see which ones work. I probably would be put on drugs these days if I was a kid, just because I had a hard time paying attention, but I was still able to get really good grades when I was a kid. But I don't know. They probably would have shoved me full of Ritalin. But enough about my speculative youth that didn't happen. Nick, how's it going with you? It feels like it's been forever since we talked, which means that it was yesterday that we talked.
I was about to say, what are you talking about? We talked yesterday. We did 2 podcasts, man. Yeah, I'm doing okay. Just bloody knackered, man. Like I kind of starting to become like you in a way. I'm just glued to the computer the whole time, like working on my own show. So like I barely leave the house and see the light of day.
Yeah, I've had to put that shit a little bit on lockdown, but it's funny because I've managed to carve out a few extra moments of free time for myself, and then my dumbass brain is just immediately like, hey, you know what? We should start up a new series where I just play these games by myself, where I don't even need a co-host, blah, 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 blah. And there's another part of my brain that's like, no, dude, you need to like go outside or draw a picture or eat a hot dog or learn how to make the world's greatest taco salad or something useful that is not games. Because, I mean, like, over the last 3 or 4 days, I've just been playing the shit out of Destiny, of all things, which seems really weird.
Okay, right. But
did you play Destiny at all?
Oh God, no. I knew I was never going to like that game, and once I saw the reviews, it just confirmed my suspicions.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for stories, and if there's not that much character development in the game, then I really am not interested.
Oh man, it kind of blows because like they went back in because this week the new expansion, The Taken King, came out, which I think if all goes according to plan, by the time people hear this podcast, we will have just gotten finished playing it for our Sunday streaming show. But they went back in and they like really tightened that whole game up to the point where there's a lot less just like screwing around, and there's a lot more like, hey, I got a really powerful. It's like they had the Diablo loot system, but it just took too long to get new good pieces of loot, and they totally fixed that. Like, I just had a blast. Like, you could go all the way from the beginning to the end of Destiny and play all the DLC in like 11 hours now. You don't even have to do any of the bullshit wandering around. You can just do it all from story. And it kind of sucks because I finally saw the story that they were trying to tell me there. Because all the DLC that came out for it were like story missions based on the different enemy factions in the game. And I was finally kind of able to see what they were trying to do, but it was just like, oh, that was kind of cool. But you guys were terrible at it when this game first came out.
Are you saying that they were listening to fan feedback and they've improved the game?
Oh, definitely. I definitely think that they've improved the game. I mean, here's the thing is that you could just sit down with that game and and just play, because before when it came out, you would like play a few missions and there'd be this mode for each map where you could just run around the entire map and just kind of screw around and get levels. You don't have to do that even a little bit anymore. You could just stick to all these main story missions. Each one of them's got a little intro, a little outro. You can play with your friends, do whatever. And then they've really revamped the loot system. But the most important thing of all time is that they've replaced Peter Dinklage with Nolan North for the voice of the little robot.
All right.
That's
okay.
That is literally the most important thing, Nick, because it's amazing how much different that game is when that little robot doesn't just sound bored as fuck all the time.
I thought that he'd be like ecstatic to do these kind of projects because, you know, he's going to always be known as the Game of Thrones guy. But like when X-Men came out, I was like, oh, this is the beginning of something new here. They're casting him for a character that's not a dwarf.
Yeah.
You know, it's just for a character. And I thought maybe... And then when this game came out, I thought, oh, it's begun. But if you're saying he sounds as bored as fuck, then I guess not.
You know, okay, so I read an article. This we've got a shitload of news today, by the way, folks, but we'll get to that in just a second. But I read an article where they talked about how the reason they changed up, because they went back, I mean, I don't know if you know this, Nick, but they went back in and re-recorded every line of dialogue that Dinklage had in the entire game and swapped it out for Nolan North. And one of the reasons that they did this was because they were like, well, we want to keep doing these content updates, but we can't wait for Peter Dinklage to be available. We need like a professional voice actor who could just like, I think it literally in the interview that they were doing, they were like, the producer something was like, you know, I can just call Nolan North and be like, yo, N-Dog, do you want to, like, we're recording some, you know, you want to come over today and put some lines in this? And he'll be like, sure, man. And then, like, he shows up, whereas with Peter Dinklage, you've got to be like, okay, are you recording X-Men 3? Okay, are you recording Game of Thrones? Okay, are you recording the reboot of Willow? You know, like, what are you recording today?
Did you just say Willow?
Sorry, is that wrong?
That's Warwick Davis, man.
Well, yeah, I know, but they're rebooting everything else. Why don't they reboot Willow, for fuck's sake?
I bet you Warwick Davis would be really pissed off if, you know, because he's already thinking, oh, well, no, he's just nicked every single dwarf role from now to the end of time, and they remade Willow, he'd be a little furious.
You know, if they remade Willow, it would just be a CGI character anyway. They can, or they would use that whole forced perspective Lord of the Rings thing to make, like, you know, Jude Law look like Willow. It'd be like, Jude Law is Willow. That I can't think of a worse Willow. Anyway, yeah. So no, but it was really cool. Like, I played the shit out of I was gonna say Bloodborne because I got this trailer sitting in front of me. I played the shit out of Destiny over the last couple days, and like, yeah, you just play it and then it's done. And they revamped the whole way that the late game like experience based system goes, and they added a bunch of like new things that are cool. I got this rad ass gun that I used the entire game. Yeah, it was great. The only problem that I had was that you Rage Select fans wanted to play with me, but you guys are all level 40, and I'm level 23. And I don't know. Have you ever played an MMO where somebody like your friend wants to play with you and they're like 10 levels higher than you, Nick?
I think when I was playing Guilds, was it Guilds? Something like that?
Guild Wars?
Told me to review it. That's it. Yeah. You told me to review it. Yeah. That happened to me all the time because I suck at that game.
Yeah, but see, what ends up happening is it's just like you're like the 5-year-old little sister trying to like chase behind all of the big kids on Halloween. You're just like, hey guys, wait up! I'm still at this last place, because the people, you know, the level 40 dude, level 40 is literally the level cap. Like, this is somebody who a few days after this has come out, they just marathon, they hit the level cap. I'm sure it's really easy, but they did it. Now they want to come play with me, but I'm like, all that's going to happen is I'm just literally going to walk behind you while you just like look at things sideways, and then they just explode into a laser flames, right? And it's like, that's not fun. So there are a few folks that came in, and I don't have my voice comms turned on. I'd like to apologize to any fans who joined my game, because what happened was they would join my game, then I would make my game private, then I would kick them out without any fanfare, and would continue to play the game. So it's not, I don't hate you. Everything's all good. You and me were good. It's just the fact that I wanted to play with people that were of my own skill level. All right. Well, I tell you what, before we get into the news, let's do one last. I know that we talked forever yesterday about Metal Gear. You said that you were thinking about trading your Metal Gear in for something else. You still leaning in that direction, Nick?
maybe I might hold on just a little bit longer to finally, sort of finish it. Like, because there's always something else left to do. But generally, yeah, I know that I'm not going to be playing that game again.
Hey, you know what? They just announced there's going to be some DLC today. Today. They just announced TGS.
But there's going to be stuff like you can make your character look like Solid Snake.
Yes.
That's it. Okay. I was taking the piss. Are you serious?
Yes, that's it. I took this just to kind of give you pain. It's mostly just Metal Gear Solid 3 costumes, like the sneaking suit from Metal Gear Solid 3, and like the jungle fatigues from Metal Gear Solid 3, and then like even D-Horse is getting some new armor, and it's just like, wow, you guys really, really don't understand anything. Just literally anything. It doesn't, just, you don't understand jack shit if you're just like, hey, everybody, check it out. You could buy new costumes. It's like, no, really, no, seriously.
There was a time when Hideo Kojima could do no wrong, and then this game happened. And don't say it's because of Konami, okay?
I don't think it's Kojima, man. Like, Kojima was on the hook with Konami to make the Silent Hills, right? There had to be something that happened to the point that he was just like, nah, fuck that game and fuck you guys and fuck it all. I'm out of here. And I'm pretty sure that it was like him going, you know what? The more I think about this, the more I think that it came down to this. I'm sure that Kojima was over time and over budget on Metal Gear Solid 5. And I'm sure that he came back and was like, I need another $20 million and 9 months to make this game the way I want to. And that Konami was like, fuck you, put out what you got, we're not giving you any more money, and that was what happened. Like, I'm pretty sure that's got to be, in my mind, what happened. But anyway, well, let's get to the real news. Let's hit up some of the real news. So TGS was this week, and actually it's still kind of going on right now. And holy balls, we have a metric, just a. I don't even have a clever euphemism for the number of trailers. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them to go over. So let's go ahead and start at the very beginning. The most important thing, the thing that I know that everybody who listens to Rage Select is most excited about: the Bloodborne DLC expansion.
Yay. I mean, it's the game that you're most looking forward to. Shit, no wonder it's at the top of the list.
You should just
shut up.
Yeah, it's funny. I wish you would play this game, Nick. I wish somebody would play this game.
I would like to. I know it's just I'm not prone to punishment. I fancy my game controller working rather than playing this game and then just trashing it completely.
I don't know why that's even like a cliche. Like, that's a weird cliche to me. It's like, oh, video game players, they have such poor self-control that they'll literally destroy. Like, it's not like a cliche amongst baseball players that they, like, smash their bats whenever they get a strike, right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. But, okay, well, I tell you what, whether you like Bloodborne or you don't like Bloodborne or you remain somewhere in the neutral middle of Bloodborne, you gotta admit, From Software can make a motherfucking good trailer.
Oh yeah, I mean, the monsters look fantastic. I mean, like, it's so gritty. I mean, like, I can kind of see why you like the game.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's funny because you look at this, and so this is Bloodborne: The Old Hunters. Now, some of it's a little like, so it's a little bit. I'll be honest, it's a great trailer, and it makes like a really great use of the environments, because a lot of these environments that you're seeing on the screen are places that I've already been to in Bloodborne. Like, I've played it for review. I played it a few times since then, and John and I played all the way through it for our Patreon subscribers. So I'm pretty familiar with Bloodborne. And I can tell you that like 90% of the bosses and the environments and the things that you're seeing in this trailer are things that already exist in the Bloodborne game proper.
Then what is it expanding on?
Well, there is some new areas. There are some new areas that are shown here. There's in particular, towards the end of the trailer, there's a new boss that's like this giant, kind of, his head's all screwed up sideways, and he's wearing for people who know the game, he's wearing like some kind of priestly robes. So there are a few new areas here. A lot of what's being shown, though, in the areas that you're seeing that I've already been to is a bunch of new weapons, which, considering one of the major drawbacks for Bloodborne was that there weren't that many different equipment loadouts that were actually feasible to play the game with. So you ended up with people generally sticking to like one of about 3 or 4 different weapons because there really wasn't a whole lot of reason to use, the Logarius's wheel, the giant wheel weapon that takes off health when you use it, right? Like, there wasn't a really good reason for people to use that. So I think that one of the things that they're adding here is definitely, it looks like a bunch of different armors, a bunch of different weapons, like that weapon that you see in the trailer where the guy's got like a saw, yeah, on the end of a stick. That's a new thing. And there's definitely some new armor in here as well, like some of the outfits, which armor isn't really a huge thing in Bloodborne, but you can see that there's definitely some new stuff going on here. There also appears to be, there's at least a couple of points in the trailer where you see a couple of new spells, which is something that I think that, the guys over at Bonfireside Chat, they talk about this, and I'm right there with them, that I hope that magic in Bloodborne is kind of garbage. Like, it's not really... the game doesn't really lend itself well to making a mage-style character, a character that uses arcane as their primary kind of attack method. So one of the things I think a lot of people are hoping for in this expansion is that they fix that, is that they add in some early game stuff, some early game spells that you can use, and that they tweak those spells to be powerful enough that you would have an actual reason to use them in the game. There's also some remixes of some bosses and areas that you're seeing here. Some new weapons, like I saw bow and arrow, which is a little weird considering all the rest of the weapons, most of the rest of the weapons that the players wield are guns in a game. And then also something really interesting that I saw just flash by, and I don't think anybody else would really notice this shit, was there was actually a moment where a character was using what looked like a new... shield. I'm trying to find it here in the trailer, but Bloodborne, like Dark Souls, has a real heavy shield component to it, and in Bloodborne they actually took there's one shield in the game and it's absolutely garbage. The enemies that use it are garbage. The shield itself, the shield itself is just terrible. It's kind of like Miyazaki... I've read in articles that Miyazaki said he never wanted people to be using shields in Dark Souls to begin with, but he put them in the game, and then they ended up being a big thing. So in Bloodborne, he put one in, and was kind of like, ha, that sucks, right? Like, if you use it, you suck.
It's like very mature, mate.
Japanese game developers, what are you going to do? But here in the trailer, I actually paused it. This looks like it's during the fight with Martyr Logarius. There's a new sword I've never seen before. This is like a big curved sword. And then the player actually has what looks like a mirror shield or just like a metal shield. And the fact that they're blocking, this is, again, some kind of insider baseball. The fact that they're blocking on this particular boss means that shield probably has some actual usage in the game, because this boss is one that hits pretty freaking hard. So unless they just set this up to... Which I wouldn't put it past them to set it up in the trailer to like show this happening, and then have people go, "Oh, I'm going to go try that shield out on that guy," and then you do it. And it's like, no, we cut before your character just got vaporized because the shield, it does nothing. It does absolutely nothing.
But it's a new campaign DLC, right?
Let's see if I can find the. Let's see what I can find in the trailer showcase terrifying new environments. Let me just see if I can't find a little bit more information about it. I don't think it's a huge... I think it might be like one new area and then a bunch of new equipment. Because there's a whole thing where they show at the beginning and the end, they show like a hunter sitting in a chair like over a big like window, and they show a new boss in there. So there's definitely some kind of story content, but I don't think that it's going to be... I don't think it's going to be huge. I think it's going to be like an area... And then, like I said, a bunch of new weapons that they put in the game.
So it's really just an excuse to get more bosses and more weapons, then?
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, wow. That bow is actually a sword that transforms into a bow. That's interesting. Didn't read that.
That's really Japanesey, that.
Mm-hmm.
That's almost as stupid as the gun sword in Final Fantasy. Do you remember that thing?
The gun blade? Absolutely, I remember that. Yeah.
So dumb.
I'm not going to spend a whole hell of a lot of time looking at this, but it looks. I'd be willing to bet that there is one new area, several new. Like I probably guess maybe 3 or 4 new weapons, 3 or 4 new armor sets, and maybe like another chunk of magic or 2. I didn't read up on this because I usually like to go into these things and just like play them fresh. But I bet it's not going to be as expansive of an expansion, if you'll pardon me, as some other stuff. Like it's not going to be Lair of the Shadow Broker style, right? It's going to be more traditional DLC. All right, next up, and we're going to get all this out of the way so that we can go talk about other Japanese as hell games. There was a trailer at TGS for Dark Souls 3, but it was mostly made of footage that we'd already seen before. But what was more interesting than that was the fact that there was a release date set for both the U.S. and Japan. So Dark Souls 3 is releasing in March 2016 in Japan and April 2016 in North America, which Nick, my birthday's in April. I hope they put out Dark Souls 3 for my birthday. I hope it comes.
Yay! Be a nice birthday present to yourself.
Yeah. And it would actually probably screw a lot of things up because people would be like, yo, man. They'd be like, my friends are like, hey, you should come over to my house. And be like, why? They'd be like, oh, no reason. Like, why don't you? It's been a while since we hung out. You should come over. I don't know. Maybe something cool will happen. And I'll be like, I'm playing Dark Souls 3. No, but you got to come over. I'm playing Dark Souls 3. But okay,
I'm busy, okay?
We're having a surprise party for you. All right, I'm playing Dark Souls 3. But all your friends are here. Dude, Dark Souls 3 is out. We hired a hooker. It doesn't matter. Dark Souls 3 is out. We hired a dozen hookers. It doesn't matter. We also have drugs. That doesn't matter either. And beer. That doesn't matter because Dark Souls 3 is out. So yeah, and you honestly, Nick, have never gotten into any of the Dark Souls stuff, right?
No, I mean, it's just not my kind of game, you know?
Yeah, again, the frustration factor. I mean, I can totally understand that. I think that there's been a lot done, especially in Dark Souls 2, that you can kind of get around. Well, no, that's not true. Dark Souls 2 can be hard as hell and really unfair. But
well, when I was playing Metal Gear Solid, like I was getting really pissed off at some bits, and I think it's just not really good with those kind of games because like it's so frustrating when you know you can do it and you keep screwing up over the dumbest things. And I think that's what gets people more angry than if you're playing baseball or something like that. Because you know you can play video games well and you spent your whole life doing it.
Yeah. I definitely understand that. It seemed really frustrating when I was playing Metal Gear Solid 5, though. Like, it would be you just be minding your own business, doing your own thing, and then suddenly, the reflex mode would go off, and it would always seem to be, like, later on in the game, it always seemed to be like a reflex mode would go off, which is your one shot to kind of, like, get out of trouble, right? But towards the end of the game, it always seemed like reflex mode went off just as I stepped over a boulder and was falling, and, like, the guy was on the other side of a giant rock, and I was just like, oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah. Or you're reloading your rocket launcher in slow motion. Just like he's in a tank centering its sights on you.
Or Fultoning a guy, and it's like, oh, good, I wanted to see this in super slow motion, where he's like... all right, well, before we jump back into the trailers, we can take a quick soiree out here. Sony has joined the likes of Nintendo, and I'm sure a bunch of other people who I don't know about, in changing the name of their product from something awesome to something stupid and generic. Nintendo did it with the Wii, and now Sony has done it with Project Morpheus, which is their VR helmet, which has now been renamed PlayStation VR. Like, seriously, guys, did you have like an internal like a contest in the Sony building where they're like, hey, everybody, let's come up with the most generic name for this thing?
Really? I mean, okay. No imagination left, I guess, in that company.
I guess they're like, nobody will know what this VR headset is if we don't call it PlayStation VR.
I mean, it's only slightly better than Project Morpheus. I mean, that's just as dumb, I think.
Project Morpheus is a cool name. Morpheus was in The Matrix. The Matrix is cool. Or I guess The Matrix was cool.
The first one was.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, I tell you what, like I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that the second and third Matrix movies did not have problems, but those movies get unjustly shit on. Like, people built up their expectations to the point where I have some doubts about whether there was ever there was any amount of movie that could have made people happy. Because yeah, they do some stupid shit, but like I don't know, I didn't think those were as bad as everybody was just like, ugh. Like I can't even watch the first one. You know, I'm getting really sick, Nick, of like somebody posted. I saw some people post on this forum. I'm sorry to keep dragging it back to Metal Gear, but it's just that kind of podcast, folks. I saw some people posting on this one forum, which I admit is the forum that I was looking at was a very over dramatic forum. Like has a reputation for being that, but they were just like, I just got done playing Metal Gear Solid 5. Entire franchise is now ruined for me. I'm just like, what? Do you how? No, how?
You just ignore MGS5.
Right.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
Right.
But I do ignore Matrix 2 and 3. I just focus on the first one. I mean, I'll admit every now and again I'll put the Matrix 2 on just for that car chase and that awesome fight in the chateau. Mm-hmm. But it's just generally it's really disappointing compared to the first one because that film was a masterpiece. And do you remember when it was cool? When like watching the Matrix was cool, and now it's kind of ruined.
Yeah, and which is again one of those things that just makes me. That's one of those things that I understand why people would say a thing like that, but on the other hand, it kind of makes me want to pick up all of reality and just throw it on the ground in disgust and be like, you can still enjoy the first Matrix, ass face. You have to be like, oh, all this architect stuff, it's just I can't even enjoy this franchise now. It's just all ruined for me with the robots and like just shut up and watch it. It's a good movie. Fuck off.
No, I mean it does work. I mean like there was only just recently have I been into Star Wars again. I mean those prequels did kind of ruin it for me. Like I just couldn't care about anything Star Wars related because of those prequels. But then the new one's coming out and they're doing all the things that I've actually wanted to see in a Hollywood blockbuster. I want to see a return to the pre-digital age with practical effects and costumes and puppets and actual film cameras.
I see. I think that's different, and I think that one of the
why is that different? How is that any different from the Matrix movies?
Well, it's kind of apples and oranges. But here's the thing: is that once Lucas put out the prequel trilogy, everything became the prequel trilogy. All of the games were set in the prequel trilogy. I mean, okay, not all of them. There would be the occasional thing that was, like The Force Unleashed would come out that was back. But for the most part, once those things came out, it was like everybody started focusing hardcore on those as far as like, the Gennady Tartakovsky Clone Wars cartoon, and like then the other animated Clone Wars cartoon, and like a bunch of the games started being set in the Clone Wars universe, and like all these different things all started kind of popping up that seemed to be focusing more on the prequel trilogy than the stuff that the older stuff, right?
Yeah, but they did the special edition releases of the original trilogy, and then the ultra special edition. Don't you dare say that they were good.
No, which were worse. That's what I'm saying is that...
Oh, thank God.
Not only... I mean, like, okay, here's the thing. Like, I think that Empire, if you're going to look at the special edition, I think Empire's okay. Like, I don't have as huge issue with them adding some windows into Cloud City and a little landing sequence to the Millennium Falcon, because that's pretty much all that they added in there. Firm up make it so that the sides of the snow speeders aren't super see-through. But that's the thing, is that once George got it all CGI'd up, like then he started putting that shit into the old trilogy as well. So yeah, for a while there, it wasn't that the prequel trilogy ruined Star Wars. It wasn't that the prequel trilogy ruined my enjoyment of the original Star Wars. It's just that everything Star Wars related started to be about the prequels. It was about that, or it was the CGI tech for the prequels getting jammed. Digital Jabba the Hutt is now in A New Hope, and it's just like, well, yeah, but I don't want any of this shit. Like, I like the old shit, and so I don't think that it was necessarily that the prequel trilogy ruined Star Wars for me. It was just that the focus of Star Wars became this thing that I really wasn't interested in. I can still go back and watch Empire Strikes Back. That's a fucking great movie. I mean, I'll also come out here and say that I think that Return of the Jedi is largely overrated, to be honest.
I agree with you there, but I was just saying that I had Star Wars fatigue. Mm-hmm. Because I was being bombarded with it all the time, and but the prequels just did not make it cool. I couldn't understand how these shitty movies led to this fantastic trilogy, and then I was just like, okay, I'm done. Really, I'm done with Star Wars.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, let's. I'm sorry, we got way off on a tangent there. Morpheus, Matrix, and then what? Star Wars. Yeah. All right. So Project Morpheus is now called PlayStation VR. They've actually announced that they're going to be pricing this thing kind of like a console. They didn't give specifics, but the thoughts from some industry folks that it's probably going to be somewhere around $400. I think that's a huge mistake, to be honest. I think that this is another one of the examples of Sony not understanding that you got to price this thing as a loss leader to get it into people's hands. You can't just expect people. Nobody's banging down your door to get access to the PlayStation VR. And as much as a fan as I am of VR, as much as I think that VR is just 100%, 160% the tits. Like, I don't think people are going to buy one of these for $400.
How much is a PS4 in America?
$400.
Oh, so it should be half than that, like $200 or something.
I think you could probably get away with charging $300 for it. Like, you got to maybe have a little bit of a premium because you're going to be getting early adopters. But the thing is that they had a trailer at TGS for like there's a whole Sony press conference that we're going to be taking a lot from here, but they showed a bunch of the games that are coming out for the PlayStation VR. It's a garbage rundown. It's horrible. I mean, there's some cool stuff in there, but it mostly seems like tech demos. So here's the problem: is that according to this publication, according to like the trailer that they had here, they say they're going to be putting out 10 titles in 2016 for the PlayStation VR, right? Like, if I know how this shit works, there's a demo they've been showing off where it's like you're in a shark cage under the water and a shark is coming up towards the cage. It's supposed to look really, really good. But if they're counting that, if that's one title, and I know that's how they do this shit, is that they pad it out, that's one title, and like there's a Hatsune Miku virtual idol dancing thing that's one title. There's one where it's like you're creepily perving on this girl during summer school. That's a title. It's like, yo, you have to, like, if they're going to make this shit work, they're going to need to put out a trailer that's like, also Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is going to have VR support. They can't just be like, oh no, it's going to be, they did say Final Fantasy 14 is coming out for it, and that's good, but I don't know.
It's not going to draw in a large enough market.
Yeah, you're going to need a blitz. And, like, I feel like that's the way that I think, I don't know. I look at this stuff, and it feels like Valve is actually going to be the one who knows what's going on, because Valve has the software experience behind them. As much as I love Oculus, as a little, indie company, I think they're going to be the front runners. I think Valve's going to be the one that gets it right, or at least I hope. Because I really don't want this shit to fade away. Because if they could just get a little bit of a toehold, we'll have VR in 2 years.
I'd be up for that, but this is a cash and grab, plain and simple. I mean, with the Oculus Rift, I did have reservations before, but the fact of how long they have stuck in there, like, gives me hope for real virtual reality. I mean, this is just like the whole PlayStation Move debacle.
That's what it feels like, right? It's one of those things where Sony is like, ooh, we could do that too, but then they don't understand. It's like they know the tech, but they don't have any idea about the social kind of stuff surrounding the tech. Like, people aren't going to pay a huge amount of money for this, and you got to have stuff for them to do. I mean, that's the thing, is that my Oculus DK2 is kind of gathering dust right now because there's just not a shitload of, like, I got my heart's content of as many VR tech demos as I could handle. And at the end of the day, it was like, I need a real full-on game to play on this. And there have been a few, but they've generally been kind of unpolished and a little...
This reminds me of, there was that thing, I think it was either on PlayStation Move or Xbox thing, where there was like a boy who would talk to you, the player.
Milo!
That's it. Yeah, this feels like Milo. Something that's never going to go anywhere.
I think they'll put it out. I think they'll manufacture it. I think they have the wherewithal to do so. To me, it's like the VR can't be like the Wii or the Wii U. You need a bunch of companies to be adopting this as an interesting new technology. It can't just be a thing that Sony makes 12 different tech demos for, right? It's got to be a thing that, like, the Last of Us puts out a patch that you could play VR mode on, or, you know, that, I don't know, just pick a game, right? You know, like Metal Gear Solid 5 has some kind of VR, you know, it's, the VR patch for VR Metal Gear Solid 5 or whatever.
You know, those missions with Quiet would be a lot better. I'm just thinking, you know, with virtual reality.
But yeah, I hope they get their shit together. All right, well, now it's time. We're already doing the thing that we do where we run a little bit over, but now is the time that we're going to just deep dive into a shitload of trailers. And the first trailer that we've got is Yakuza Kiwami, the remake of the original Yakuza. Now, Nick, did you ever actually play any of the
original Yakuza?
Any of them?
Yeah, I rented it once from Blockbuster.
Oh,
yeah. So that's way back in the day.
Did you enjoy it?
I don't think so. But then again, I really can't remember. I just know that I returned it very shortly after a few days.
It's a real weird series. It's a really bizarre franchise. Like it's kind of Japanese Grand Theft Auto, but it's got this kind of weird, like, goofy side to it, where, you know, you start out, it's like, I've got to take revenge on this crime boss for taking down my friend who was another crime boss. And then it's like, but first I'm going to go to this maid cafe and do a karaoke and have a foot race with an old man and all these things. They also seem like they're really big games. I only played one. I played I think it was Yakuza 4, or maybe it was 5 on the PlayStation 3. But here it looks like they're going back and they're remaking the original Yakuza with, like, super upgraded graphics, like the PlayStation 4. I think it looks, you know, really fantastic.
I mean, from what I remember, Yakuza looked really good anyway. I mean, like, I think I was playing on the PlayStation 2, and that's probably one of the reasons I got it, because, like, it just looked fantastic compared to everything else.
Yeah. But yeah, this looks really good, and unfortunately, I don't have enough experience with the Yakuza franchise to really say much more than that.
It's like Sleeping Dogs, I'd say. It's probably a good comparison, but more goofy.
More Japanese. It's. I mean, you know, here's the thing: is that, like, I had a really hard time. I think it was Yakuza 4 was the one that I played. I had a really hard time getting into Yakuza at first. Like, I had a really hard time getting started because the beginning of it was just like, what the fuck? But once I got, like, 4 hours in, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm doing this. It's like a crime story, but then it's got a bunch of other shit. It's just basically Grand Theft Auto, except there's no cars. You're just running around this area. Also, in this trailer for the remake, a dude slaps a little girl, and I was just like, what?
I was like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm in. That's it. I'm in, Yakuza. The little girl slapping? All right, you got me. All right, so next up we have the new game coming from Tecmo Koei and Ninja Theory, which is Neo, and that's not the Matrix. That's not a callback to our Matrix reference.
Stop it.
Ni-OH, Neo. And I gotta say, this particular trailer, it kind of tickled my. It kind of looks like Dark Souls and Onimusha had a weird baby that has a bunch of.
I was just about to say that it's very Onimusha. I mean, like, it piqued my interest. I mean, like, with the whole the decapitation system they have put in place, it kind of is like Metal Gear Rising, where you could slice a guy totally in half. But then it kind of lost me once that sort of monster appears in the trailer. I was like, okay. It's like, I got to ask Jeff what that's all about.
This is Japan, bitch. What? No, it's funny because it looks like very much kind of like. No, wait. Okay, there's a third one. The Witcher, because the dude in here kind of totally looks like Japanese Geralt of Rivia. But yeah, it's funny because he's like, dude's moving along, and it's just this very, like, medieval. Like, he's slashing guys. He's got the kind of traditional samurai armor on. He's slashing some guys. It looks very, like, realistic. And then, yeah, a giant monster comes out, and he, like, does a spin and casts magical anime girl at him. Like, a little anime girl just comes flying off of him in a magic spell. And then the trailer just kind of goes completely and totally bananas, where they're showing all these different weirdo Japanese bosses, like the giant slimes and I don't know, like a chunk of a wall or something. I think it looks really interesting. I mean, I think it looks like a really, I think it looks really creative, and that's what I like. And I also think that's the first Ninja Theory product. I don't know. I gotta go look up what else they've been doing recently. I think the last stuff that they were doing was Dead or Alive.
I guess, but I think these trailers are going to make less and less sense as we go down the list, because these are the ones that made most sense to me, because I had something to sort of relate to in them. To what was going on.
Yeah. Okay. If I said Ninja Theory, I meant Team Ninja. I get those two confused from time to time. So let's see. Neo. Yeah, the last one was Dead or Alive Extreme 3. Okay, then they've got some. Yeah, they've been doing some work for other companies. But I think this looks really cool. Like, it's also based apparently on an Akira Kurosawa script.
I don't think he had monsters in his scripts. Just. Because he did like historically based movies.
I don't know. It says okay. It's an unfinished. Okay, yeah. Let's see. According to this Polygon article, they're like, this was a PS3 game. It's not going to be on the PS4. It's based on an unfinished script from acclaimed Japanese film director Akira Kurosawa. So, all right. So they found this Kurosawa script, and it's like samurais, and he's walking in the night, and blah, 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 blah. And they're like, what should we put here? And they're like, giant fuck-off monsters!
Yeah, it needs more monster. Put more monster in it.
And then it's like, all right, so his sword is imbued with a spirit of vengeance. What do you guys think the spirit of vengeance looks like? Anime girls! And like, okay, cool. So I think I think that we just simulated exactly how the development of Neo for that. All right, next up, this one was really bizarre, but so Vanillaware. Do you know who Vanillaware is, Nick?
No, but that sounds like that's probably the best name I've ever heard for a company.
They made Dragon's Crown. Did you ever play that? There was a kind of an outrage about how big the boobs on the wizard lady was in Dragon's Crown.
No.
Okay. Anyway, they just was it at E3 or was it somewhere else where they said that they were going to have an announcement of a new game pretty soon, and they have an announcement of this new game. It's called 13 Sentinels, and the trailer shows, honest to God, just about nothing. It's a dude, and then there's a girl, and they're just walking from the left-hand side of the screen to the right-hand side of the screen. And it's really pretty. Like, it's very beautiful.
It's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I thought it was going to be like one of those indie sort of games where it's about like a girl, looking for her lost diary or something like that. Something, very cute.
Mm-hmm.
And then they slap a giant monster in it.
And then a giant robot is there. And the giant.
I think it's the same developer from the last game.
Right. They're just like, do. Yeah, now the giant robot's getting shot with missiles. Like, I looked up, because all these trailers are in Japanese, so I looked up.
All your base have belonged to us.
I looked up on Wikipedia. This could be a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation Vita game. I took up on Wikipedia what it was about, and I don't know if this is. I don't know if this has just been. If they might have talked about this more in the press conference, and I just didn't see it, where they were like, "This game is about a girl who lost her memory, trying to figure out how to get by on day-to-day life during the apocalypse." So who knows, Nick? It might just be you running around as this little girl talking to people, and then robots are in the background from time to time blowing up.
That's pretty much what I just said, apart from the diary thing. Oh my God.
So I don't know. All I know is that Vanillaware I think that they've got a great art style, and I like the fact that they still do 2D animated sprites is the wrong word, but 2D animated kind of characters instead of switching over to 3D. So yeah, I don't know. I'll keep an eye out for that. Next up, so I don't know how familiar you are with this, Nick, but if you're going to rip something off in the video game industry, there's about a 70% chance that what you're going to be ripping off is Minecraft. I can't count the number of games that I've seen in Steam, like early access, where it's like Minecraft, but you've got guns. It's like Minecraft, but it's Minecraft. It's Minecraft because Minecraft has already sold a bajillion. Well, apparently now even Square Enix is getting in on the fun because they're ripping off Minecraft with Dragon Quest in Dragon Quest Builders. which is a very, very strange looking title.
Are they legitimately ripping off these games, or have they got permission to do that?
I don't think anybody has permission. I just don't think that at this point, I think it's kind of been shown that Notch or Mojang don't really give a shit if you rip off Minecraft. But so this is, I mean, like, okay, and when I say ripping off Minecraft, folks, you got to go watch this trailer. You got to go watch and see what's going on. You got a little guy, you go out in the world, you got a big hammer, you bang on the ground, and squares of resources come out of the ground. And then you could take them and make them into a house or make them into whatever. Now, to be honest, outside of unlike Minecraft, all of the other characters, like the characters and the monsters and things like that, they all don't look anything. They're not all blocky like they are in Minecraft. They look like regular old characters. It's only the environmental stuff that looks like it's made out of blocks. But it's seriously, it's just Minecraft. Like I don't. It's so weird to me to look at this and just be like, but it's Minecraft. I mean, it looks good. Like, it's got nice shaders, and it looks like it's got all the Dragon Quest monsters. It's got the slimes and the golems and things like that from the Dragon Quest series. And apparently, they're working hard to make sure it's got like a storyline and that it's actually being written. And so it'll be like Minecraft, except there'll be an actual honest-to-God single-player story to go through, which I think it sounds cool. It sounds like an interesting thing. But there's kind of a weird...
I don't like these kind of games, to be honest. I mean, like, if you are going to rip off a company, then do it in a different way, in a unique way. Like, have the whole building world mechanic thing, but this is literally blatantly Minecraft, you know? But the fact that what annoys me is it's kind of like when you watch a movie when something really convenient happens and a character goes, well, that was hell of a timing, you know, like, and that makes it okay. It's the same thing where they call it like Dragon Quest Builders. It's like they're not even fucking trying to like hide it. It's like, no, we're totally ripping this off, but we'll know you'll buy it in the end.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to say right now, who knows? Maybe it's not as bad. Maybe it's less of a ripoff, but it doesn't seem that way. It seems like just a big fat old motherfucking ripoff. I mean, I do like the idea. The thing that didn't keep me playing Minecraft at the end of the day was that I am a sucker, just like you, Nick, for a single-player storyline. So if it's just Minecraft, but there's a single-player storyline, I could kind of get behind that. It just seems a little weird to see such a big company as Square Enix doing this kind of stuff, because I'm used to it. When I see Minecraft ripoffs, I expect them to be from like weird indie developers who just are trying to get a leg up by just taking Minecraft and doing whatever the hell they want to with it. So I don't know. Maybe it'll be all right. We'll see. I mean, as I've always said, trailers mean nothing. They literally have no meaning whatsoever. Because you can make a shitty game look great, you can make a great game look shitty, and who can say otherwise? Next up, the second World of Final Fantasy trailer was shown at TGS, and oh boy, Final Fantasy, you're starting to test my patience. I mean, they're not, and I'll be perfectly frank here, they're not doing anything different than they've ever done. Like, they're just doubling down on all the stuff that they like to do. But this one, boy, I could just care less about this one. You probably haven't seen this one before, Nick, have you?
What, this trailer?
Yeah, or just the game in general. There was a trailer for it at E3 this year for World of Final Fantasy.
No, this is the first I've ever seen of it.
Like, it seems like you got these two main characters, like a guy and a girl. But one of the main things in the game seems to be that, like, you'll notice that they switch between being like regular-looking characters and then being like little chibi characters, almost like little sprites. Like they
turn into emojis or something.
Yeah, like the little sprites that you would see in an old Final Fantasy game. And then, like, part of the trailer, if I remember correctly, part of the battle system from E3 was that, like, you could put the smaller versions on top of the bigger versions. And so it depends, like, do you want this enemy to be small and then he's on top of your head, or do you want to be small and be on top of his head? But I don't know, man. This one is just kind of lost on me. Like, I'm not getting anything out of this. I mean, I'm not looking at this and being like, ooh, that looks interesting. I'm just like, oh.
Have you actually played the Final Fantasy games? Imagine me. It's just like, okay, I have no idea. I mean, like, maybe Jeff will clarify it for me.
It almost seems like, I mean, I would say that the Final Fantasy franchise is up its own ass, but that would be stating it a little bit
suicide.
Too light. No,
that'd be career suicide.
No, that'd be saying it too lightly. It's been up its ass. It's now like it went up its own ass, and then it became a whole different creature that grew a new asshole, and then it went up that ass, and now it's like going up its ass a third time. It's just like it's turned inside out twice, going up its own ass, because it's like, ooh, let's take. This is literally like the third or fourth game I think that I've seen where they're just like. Because the characters that are inside of the trailer for that game are characters from other Final Fantasy games. You got the little chibi lightning and like the Warrior of Light and things like that. And I'm like, we already did this whole universe spanning thing in Dissidia, and then there was a second Dissidia. Now you're making another Dissidia. Like, I don't know, man. I just like I feel like Final Fantasy, not Square, because they got their master plan to go rip off Minecraft, but I feel like Final Fantasy has just run out of ideas. The point where they're just like, I don't know, just make another one. Well, should we develop a new universe? Nah, fuck it. Just shove everything from all the other games in there. They like that shit. They like Final Fantasy 12. Just fucking do that. Like, I really want Final Fantasy 15 to come the fuck out already and be a thing, and yeah, just be a thing. Final Fantasy, come on. Sorry,
it's all right.
I mean, literally, it's been okay. So, like, here's the problem. The problem with this horse shit is that they move too slowly, right? Final Fantasy 13 was the last single-player Final Fantasy game that came out, and it had 3 installments. Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 13-2, and Final Fantasy 13 Lightning's Revenge, or whatever it was, Final Fantasy 3. Like, if you're not down with the Final Fantasy 13 universe, which I'm like, meh, about, like, it's been a decade or something? Like, when the hell did Final Fantasy 13 come out? You know how long you gotta wait for this shit? And they've been talking about Final Fantasy, I'm even having problems saying those words anymore. They're starting to get tripped up in my mouth. Final Fantasy, 14 has been in development. Like, so I think that some people might. Final Fantasy 14 is already out. It's an MMO, and it was so crappy when they launched, they had to take it offline, spend 2 years retooling it, and then put it back out again. And granted, I played it; it's pretty fun. But on the other hand, it took them for fucking ever to just put out a functional game. And then Final Fantasy 15, people tend to forget about this. Final Fantasy 15 was a spin-off game for Final Fantasy 13 that they'd spent so long working on, they were like, fuck it, just make it its own game. Let's see. All right, so Final Fantasy 13 came out in 2010. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's been half a decade that we've been putting up with the Final Fantasy 13 universe. So, like, goddamn woe is me, Nick, for liking Final Fantasy, because it used to be that you could get one of these things every 5 years, but they just really, oh God, they really, really, really need to put another one of these out. That's all I'm going to say about it. We're going to move on.
All right.
Next up, we've got Saga Scarlet Grace for the PlayStation Vita. This trailer is literally full of nothing. It has nothing. It means nothing. It is nothing.
There's nothing in the fucking trailer. I know this is what you just said, but I don't see any gameplay. I didn't see any cutscenes whatsoever.
Nope. Once again, not to just fucking drill this into people's brains, but this is an existing franchise. The Saga, this is part of the Saga series that is owned by Square Enix, and these are, like, you remember the old game? Do you remember Final Fantasy Legend, I believe it was, on the Game Boy?
No, dude. I never played any of the Final Fantasy games.
Okay. I forgot about that. That was originally a Saga game, I guess, according to Wikipedia. But, like, you go down, and the last Saga game that came out was in 2012. But it was called Emperor Saga. That was for, I think, like, what is this, cell phones or something? A social network, a Japanese social networking site. So the last game that you could have played in the Saga series was Unlimited Saga. That was a PlayStation 2 game that came out in 2003. I'm sure there are people who are just hella balls fuckstick excited for this shit, but it's just Square continuing to trade on the name on shit they've already done before, right? Like they're just dragging out all the old shit. Hey, do you like Final Fantasy VII? We're remaking that. Do you like the Saga series? Well, we're going to be making more of that. Like, do you like Final Fantasy? Here's a bunch of Final Fantasy, and it's all in one game, right? I just feel like I want to see some new shit coming from them, and then all I'm seeing is them just dragging out all the old stuff. Like they had their press conference at E3 this year. They were like, and we're making a new Nier game. And it's like they're becoming, I feel the need to hold their feet to the fire the same way that I hold Nintendo's feet to the fire and say they're just dragging out all the old favorites and doing them all over again. Kingdom Hearts 3, fucking Nier, the Saga, like it's going to be just a matter of time before we see a new Vandal Hearts. I'm just going to say that right now.
People are just going to get fatigued with that, with the console in general if they carry on like that.
I think so. I think they will. Well, I don't know. I think they're already seeing it, but I just don't think that Square has any real idea of what to do. I think that they've kind of lost their way as far as what exactly they want to be doing. Anyway, next up, something that is not a Japanese video game. Finally.
Okay, I'm interested.
Something that I feel like might be right up your alley, Nicholas.
For Honor.
For Honor.
Well, you said there's not going to be Japanese. The samurai in it.
Oh, it's a samurai, but it's like, but it's not. No anime girls came out of his sword. Okay, that's all. That's what I'm going to say.
Right.
So, for those of you who have so briefly forgotten one of the most awesome-looking things at E3 this year, For Honor is this like kind of one-on-one, or what is it?
No, it's not. It's like a massive multiplayer game where you could play as either medieval knights, or you could play as the samurai, or you could play as Vikings. I don't know how they put those periods together, but yeah, so you all like fight each other, and it's like massive team death matches.
It's not massive.
It's not? I thought it was like 30 against 30.
No, it's smaller than that. As near as I could tell, it's like a 4-on-4 type of thing. Like a lot of what you're seeing when you're looking at that video in the background are computer characters fighting each other.
Oh, what's the point then?
Well, the point is that you've got this really detailed combat system to have these one-on-one fights with people. Like it's more about fighting one person and not like Dynasty Warrior style slashing through a jillion, million, bazillion different dudes.
Okay, but what about there must be like an online mechanic. And
I think it's absolutely online. It's like 4 people on 4 people. So, in the E3 demo when they had on stage, they had 8 people. They had like 4 on one team and 4 on the other team. And so they're running out and all the other kind of computer characters are around them. And then they kind of run out and they have themselves a fight. So I think that it's more about fighting each person one-on-one with this really detailed fighting system. And I can't tell if there's a part of obviously the computer controlled guys means something, but I can tell you right now that those guys that you're seeing, all the like just foot soldiers out there, are not people. They're not all individual people. The main action is going to be trying to get people set up fighting 1-on-1 or 2-on-1, or that kind of thing.
Have you actually seen the E3 gameplay for this?
Have I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What did you think? I mean, did it blow your mind, or is it just like meh?
I thought it looked really interesting. I thought once again, it's one of those things that it's hard to gauge without actually getting your hands on. It's one of the reasons why going to E3 is more important than just watching trailers. But like, it looks like if they have, because you know what? I'm sorry, I don't mean to do this, but like, the core of PvP in Dark Souls is based on a one-on-one, one person, generally speaking, one person fighting another person, and kind of setting up a system where there's like a move set and there's equipment, and there's that kind of stuff, but making a deep enough combat system so that those two people can fight each other with a degree of skill, so that it's kind of your skill versus the other person's skill. And if it ends up being like that, I think it could be really, really fun. Even though PvP isn't really my cup of tea, it still looks like something that I would be interested in maybe trying out.
It kind of reminds me of Chivalry. Have you played that?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Kind of like a really polished version of Chivalry, right?
Yeah, but I think in Chivalry you could play against multiple people at once, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Chivalry is more of like an 8-on-8 type of thing, and I don't think they have like computer controlled opponents in Chivalry either. I think it's just the people who are playing the game. But yeah, I don't know. This particular trailer is focusing on the Oni, one of the samurai characters, and it's kind of hard to tell anything from the trailer outside of the fact that it looks really good and really cool. So
yeah, I mean, it looks like the Deadliest Warrior made into a game.
Yeah, no, except good, because I don't know if you know this, but there's already a Deadliest Warrior game, and it's the absolute garbage tits.
Oh, did you and Jason have a crack at that?
We played like 3 of those games.
Oh God,
like they were terrible. But yeah, so they
just like the show.
Right. Actually, it's possible that terrible might not be the right word, because there was okay. So listen, there was one. God, what was it? So there was actually a Deadliest Warrior add-on pack for Chivalry, and it may have been the funniest thing that we ever did on the entire show. I'm pretty sure it's a Patreon-only video, but basically it was this like 8-on-8 like Chivalry, right? Except that you were picking one of the Deadliest Warrior, like a Spartan, right? But the thing is that every class had a button that was the scream button. So, like, when you were playing as a Spartan, right, you would hit a button and they'd go like, Sparta, right? So what would end up happening is that your team would spawn, and then you start running around the map in a huge group, and all just jamming this button over and over again. Everybody's just going, Sparta, 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 Sparta. And then you like run into the other group, the Vikings, and they're just like, ha! And they're all just going, ha, ha! It's
having a sing-off practically in the middle of battle.
It was awesome and hilarious. All right, so from there we're going to go ahead and we're going to pick up the pace a little bit more. I got a few news items. I got one. You know what? I'm just going to finish this off. I think this is the last piece of Square Enix bitching that I have to do. Or not bitching, but this is just kind of an announcement for people. So last week we had a story where they talked about kind of a Kingdom Hearts 2.9 or 2.8. It looks like that is going to be the, let's see, Dream Drop Distance and 2 new episodes, Final Fantasy Heart X back cover, and Kingdom Hearts .2 Birth by Sleep. A fragmentary passage, which is a movie. Anyway, basically, Kingdom Hearts has been all over the goddamn place. They put out their Kingdom Hearts 1 remaster. They put out the Kingdom Hearts 2 remaster. This is a Kingdom Hearts like all the rest of the Kingdom Hearts things. It's possible there might be that I'm missing something, and that they're not putting in Kingdom Hearts, foot action carpet face 25. Like, the names for these games are just completely inexplicable to me. Like, they just don't mean anything. You might as well just be just having a random Tourette seizure. But yeah. All right. So next up, let's talk about Gravity Rush real fast. Gravity Rush was a
Gravity Days.
It's Gravity Days in Japan. It's Gravity Rush in the U.S.
Oh, I'm sorry, you fucking hipster. I'm sorry. It's days in Japan, okay?
Yeah, so Gravity Rush was a Vita game that was actually really well received. It was about this young lady who could manipulate gravity and could jump around and do all kinds of crazy stuff. They're remastering Gravity Rush 1, and then they're putting out Gravity Rush 2 for the PS4 and the Vita. I think this is great. I think it looks like a creative little universe where people are flying around and doing all kinds of shit. I don't like the art.
I'm actually intrigued by this. It's kind of got like a BioShock Infinite thing going on.
Yeah, as I understand it, I never actually got all the way into Gravity Rush, I guess, when I got it from my Vita. But it looks okay. I mean, it's the sort of game. This is the sort of game that I'd much rather play on my TV, so I'm glad that they're putting out the first one and then also the second one on the PS4, because I'd be much more likely to just go ahead and check it out on my PlayStation 4 than I would be to, like, you really have to make a really convincing argument for me to use my Vita, because I don't ride the train or the bus or go anywhere.
Is it going to be downloadable on the PlayStation 4?
Oh, most certainly.
Awesome. Okay, of all the games you showed me, this is the one that actually has piqued my attention the most.
Yeah. No, I mean, I tried playing the first one. I didn't get that far in it, but I think it looks really good. So just kind of as a PSA, check out the trailer for it, folks. I think that might be it looks pretty cool. Next up, Assassin's Creed Syndicate is putting in Jack the Ripper. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Nobody is surprised.
No one is surprised. It's just like, I kind of had a thought like, okay, what was going on in London at the time? It was like, well, Jack the Ripper, really, and I know Charles Dickens. They're not going to put Charles Dickens in. Surprise. They put Charles Dickens in the game. I was like, are you serious?
They're totally going to put whatever in there. Sherlock Holmes is going to be in there, and fucking, I don't know anything else about London. You know what? Who should be telling me all the things that they should be putting in? I tend to study American history when I was in school. You probably had to study, like, London history when you were in school, so you could tell me what else they're going to, what all happened in 1888 in London.
Well, nothing really.
Nothing.
I mean, nothing that really piqued my interest. I mean, like focusing mostly on the Industrial Revolution and learning about smog and all of that, which is kind of cool. But I don't know why. Are you serious? They're having a Sherlock Holmes thing going on?
Oh, I don't know, but they probably will. I mean, if it's anything like Assassin's Creed Unity, they want to shove every single thing from that can even remotely be connected to the time period in there. So
like the whole Jack the Ripper thing, I bet you it's going to be like an hour-long DLC where you're just going to be looking in certain spots where prostitutes are being murdered, and then you track this guy down, and then you kill him. I bet you it doesn't even make an impact. Like, it's just like a sort of nothing at all.
Of course that's what it's going to be. I mean, they've never done anything else. What was the DLC for Assassin's Creed 2 that was about
Leonardo da Vinci's inventions? Was that it?
Was it Da Vinci? No, Da Vinci was in the main game. There was some other DLC there. It was another kind of historical thing that was like only... that's the thing that I don't understand, though, right? Like, is Jack the Ripper is just some add-on DLC. You go, really? Like, it seems like Jack the Ripper would be one of the perfect characters to have inside of your game. Not as some throwaway DLC where you say it's 4 missions, but as like, it turns out Jack the Ripper was a secret assassin the entire time, and he might be like that's probably why you're tracking him down. Maybe, but on the other hand, put that in your game. Don't make people buy a fucking season pass to get it. Like, come on, bro. All right, Star Ocean 5 is coming in 2016. I don't really care about that. The trailer they showed before was more interesting than the one that they showed last time. King of Fighters 14 is coming out. It's being developed, and it's also, for the first time in the franchise, as near as I can tell, I looked it up, but as near as I can tell, this is the first time in the franchise that King of Fighters 14 is going to be a 3D animated game and not 2D sprites. So,
all right.
You guys feel anything about that? I don't. Sorry.
I don't either. Sorry.
All right. Let's see. Biohazard Umbrella Corps is Capcom.
I really couldn't care less about that.
They're continuing to flail around and not have any idea what to do with the Resident Evil franchise.
It's like, either let it die, or you really need to focus on just hiring some writers, because I know there are loads of people out there who'd kill to get their hands on a property like this, because there's so much you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than going all out and be crazy with it, bring it back to sort of a more of a gritty feel.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kind of like when the James Bond movies were going absolutely nuts with Die Another Day, and they brought everything back to Casino Royale and just condensed it.
Right. No, I totally agree. But what this is looks like a third-person, team-based multiplayer shooter. Why? I don't know. I don't have any fucking clue. It looks like you're fighting other teams in the midst of some kind of zombie apocalypse. Who honestly the fuck cares at this point?
It looks like a mess.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. No, I mean, it doesn't even look like a mess. It just looks generic. Like, I look at it and go, this could be anything. There's no reason this is Resident Evil. There's nothing to do. Like, at least in the previous Resident Evil games, like at least in Raccoon City Chronicles or whatever the fuck it was called, they had the good sense to be like, also Jill and Leon are there, and you're supposed to track them down. Here it's just like a bunch of guys in gas masks shooting a bunch of zombies. Huzzah. So, yeah. No, don't even remotely care. And then the trailer that you don't actually have, Nick, before we're getting really close to the end here, they put out a trailer for the Omega Force. The guys that make Dynasty Warriors are making a new Attack on Titan game for the PlayStation 4.
Oh, okay.
They put out a new trailer for that, and it basically shows, the dudes from Attack on Titan, that shows the giant skinless guy with all the smoke coming off of him, and it shows, it looks really cool. It's got nice graphics for the PlayStation 4, and it shows the characters zipping around with all the maneuver gear and chopping on dudes, and the big smiley crazy Titans walking around doing their dumb shit. Looks real fun. Again, I don't really know, it doesn't tell me anything about the actual game, but I saw 2 seconds worth of action, and it seems pretty cool. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that it looks like garbage, because it doesn't. So that's the stunning that's the absolutely stunning commentary that you guys get about that. Doesn't look like total garbage. And then last up in our trailer parade, Rock Band 4, Are You Ready to Rock? Which is kind of made up to be this whole instructional video from this doofus called Terry something cool, Terry Terman. Basically, I'm going to condense it for you. They have some kind of weird, you can make your own guitar solo thing in the new Rock Band, where you can use the buttons to kind of actually create your own guitar solo. I really, 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 really hope this works better than it did in Fantasia. Because in Fantasia, they had this whole now you get to remix the song. So you'd be you'd be doing this. I don't know if you know about this game, Nick, but it was like a Kinect game, but you were like a composer. So you were having to do these arm motions to compose the music that was coming up on screen. And they'd be so here's Under Pressure by Queen. And then they'd be all right, and now you get to remix it. And they'd be no, I don't want to remix it. And they'll be too bad. You're remixing it. But I don't want to. They'd be nope. If we detect even a little bit of movement from you, we're gonna make that into you fucking up this awesome Queen song. I'm oh.
I don't want to play it anymore then.
Okay. But apparently, I don't know, this seems like it might be slightly better implemented. And then they also had another part here where they have vocal freestyle experimentation. You can kind of just add your own little flares, and the game won't ding
make
you
fun
for
of
it.
you.
Yeah.
I'm just curious to see how this goes, because the noughties was pretty much a decade of clutter, of all these rock star guitars and drums that have just either collecting dust or most likely now they're all in the bin. And are we going to go back to that? Is there going to be another craze, or is this kicking a horse while it's down or something?
Well, so it kind of depends. There's two schools of thought, right? So Rock Band 4 is coming out, and the thing about Rock Band 4 is from everything that I've read, Rock Band 4 is going to be fully compatible with all of the shit you already bought in Rock Band 1, 2, and 3. So I think that they're doing it right. They're putting out a new bunch of things. They're basically just hey, you guys remember when you used to invite your friends over on Friday night and play Rock Band? Now you can do it again. We let it calm down a little bit. We're bringing it back. And you can use everything you've already bought is up for grabs. So you can go back and download all the stuff that you originally purchased, so you didn't waste all your money. And that's cool. They're adding a bunch of new songs.
When was the last time a Rock Band game came out?
Rock Band 3. No, well, it depends on whether you count the Rock Band. There was a Vita game, I guess, that they put out on the actual PlayStation 3, Rock Band Unplugged, where you could play it by yourself. You didn't need you could play it with a controller by yourself. But the actual last Rock Band game with Rock Band instruments was Rock Band 3.
What year was that?
Let's see. Rock Band 3 came out in 2010. So 5 years ago.
Basically, it shows you can play with your old instruments. We'll wait. Go find them. It's I don't have them anymore. Just check everywhere. I'm sure they're somewhere. I was all right.
I actually think that it's kind of cool, because it's Activision, or no, is it EA? Was it EA? Who has Guitar Hero?
Activision had Guitar Hero, I believe. Didn't they sell it, or they went bust?
Nope, they still got it. They still own the rights to it. So yeah, Guitar Hero killed the radio star, as far as I'm concerned, because they put out so many freaking things. Like Rock Band put out Rock Band 3. Oh, no, you know what? I think was Beatles Rock Band before or after Rock Band 3?
I don't know. It was right in the
2009.
Right,
okay,
of things. Didn't they have like a Van Halen rock band or something?
No, see, that's what you're thinking is Guitar Hero, right? The Rock Band, there was like Rock Band 1, Rock Band 2, Rock Band 3, right? And then there was Beatles Rock Band in between there. And that was between, let's see, when did the original one, oh, no, wait, Green Day Rock Band, which I never really understood why they did.
What?
Yeah.
Green Day?
Yeah.
Just don't understand it. I mean, like, they're all right, but I don't think they warrant their own fucking game.
No, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. But see, the thing is that Guitar Hero, I feel like Guitar Hero got a little out of hand. Like Guitar Hero, honestly, they were the progenitor. That was Harmonix back when they were Red Octane or whatever, started the whole thing. But then like they got into Guitar Hero Metallica, Guitar Hero Aerosmith, Guitar Hero Encore rocks the 80s, Guitar Hero Smash Hits. I'm pretty sure, Nick, I got to check this out. There was Band Hero. I remember that.
There was a DJ Hero.
DJ Hero, yeah.
I'm probably the only idiot in London who actually bought the turntable and played it.
Oh, no, dude. We played it on a live show one time. I've totally owned DJ Hero. In fact, I think John brought his second turntable over when we had some battles. There was a Lego Rock Band. Yep, forgot about that. Yep, nope. They totally ran that franchise into the ground, but they're putting out a new Rock Band, which seems like it's focused on, hey, here's an excuse for you to just go download some of your things and buy a new, go to the store, buy the $150 like kit that's got all the instruments and stuff in it, bring it home, play it with your friends, have a few weekends, bada bing, bada boom, you're good. Guitar Hero, on the other hand, is putting out like a new guitar it's got 6 buttons instead of 4 buttons on it. They've got this weird live action thing. It's gross. I don't want them to ruin it again. Nick. Like I want it to keep being a thing because I think playing Rock Band on the weekends with your friends is real fun.
Yeah, I'll just be hesitant to buy any copies, until like I'm pretty sure like there are enough people buying it to warrant that.
Sure. All right, so we're going to run through these because we're way over time, and I'm going to cut some of these things. Need for Speed has been delayed until spring of 2016 on the PC. Just Cause 3 is going to have an expansion pass that adds 3 DLC packs. The PlayStation 4 is getting a price drop in Japan by $50. No word yet as to whether or not that is going to be coming back over to America, or it's possible that it might have happened in the days between when this is recorded and when it comes out. Now, Nintendo has named a new president after Satoru Iwata passed away. So Tatsumi Kimishima, who was the guy that was helming, apparently the creative director during the GameCube era, is coming back to be the new president. So I don't know. Maybe that'll be a return to. Maybe we'll get a new GameCube. I don't know. GameCube 2. Do it, dude. Also, they're taking a break, but they say that they are going to come back with the Nintendo Direct videos in the future, which they haven't done since Satoru Iwata passed away, because he was kind of a big part of that as well, which I think is great. Let's see. Next to last, Deadly Premonition is getting a collector's edition release 5 years after its original release with a bunch of garbage for this garbage that you all send to love so much. So go out and fucking pre-order Deadly Premonition, the garbage, stupid, shitty edition, because you guys love that shit so much you want to marry it, bunch of jerks.
Because we know you're going to do it anyway.
Have you ever... okay, never mind. I'm not even going to get into that. We're already over time. And last but not least, Naughty Dog was streaming something. They were doing a live stream, and they had one of their people on there, and he was talking about... here's the quote from him where he's like, all the facial animation in the Uncharted series was led up by Eric. And on the first Last of Us... Oh, did I say the first Last of Us?
Yeah, I'm wondering if that was a mistake or if that was to create buzz.
Could be. I mean, Nolan North last year claimed that Last of Us 2 was in development, and apparently when the guy said that, he also... I didn't listen to the actual place where he was talking about this, but apparently got real flustered after he said it. So, I don't know. I'm pretty sure if there is a Last of Us 2, sure. Great. I'd rather they do something else than continue to just make Uncharted and Last of Us and switch between the two of them.
I love the Uncharted games. What are you on about? I mean, the number 4 is definitely going to be the last one. I'm be sad to see it go. But with The Last of Us 2, are you hoping for new characters, or do you want to return to the old ones?
I hope that it's new characters like way later in the future. I hope that it's focused on other characters later in the future that maybe run into Joel and or Ellie later on. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's. Here's the thing. I've just especially I have now full on adopted this as my go-to. If it's a choice between having a developer make a sequel to a game that I like or making something new, I wanted to make something new. I'd rather have Kojima not making Metal Gear games. I'd rather have Miyazaki not making Dark Souls games. I'd rather have Ken Levine and if they were still a team, I'd rather see Rockstar make something besides Grand Theft Auto games. And don't get me wrong, I love all of those franchises. I really do. But I've just seen too many times over the years that these franchises get stale, and that I think that these developers do their best work when they're creating something new and interesting. So while I will totally play Last of Us 2, and I'm totally excited to play it, and we played all the way through Last of Us for one of our sequential playthroughs. I hope that team doesn't just get burned out by just having to do that one franchise over and over again.
Fair enough.
And with that, we're going to go ahead and take a break.
All right, cool.
Oh, Jesus Christ, we're so far over. All right, so I'm going to pick up 5 questions from you guys to answer when we come back, and we're going to go ahead and try to make this a reasonable length podcast. Stay tuned. We'll be back in a moment. All right, folks, welcome back. It's time. It's Nick. It's time. It's time, Nick. Nick, it's time.
Best part of the show.
Time to dispense the wisdom of the ages, or in my case, the wisdom of like one age. Like I've got one age under my belt. So mail@rageselect.com is the email address if you want to send in a question, and we're probably going to be a little bit lighter weight on the questions this week than we normally are, mostly because Nick and I recorded like 2 hours yesterday, and we're recording 2 hours today, and fuck's sake, I got other shit to do. I got other things to record than just podcasting with Nick forever. But mail@rageselect.com is the email address. Send in your questions. Actually, you know what? Before we get to the questions, Nick, where can the people find Nick Hodges? Somebody is just listening to this brand new, and they're like, this Nick, he seems like a polite young man with a lot of things to say about other things in the world. I'd like to hear more of Nicholas Hodges. Where can I wonder where can I find him?
Well, you could find me on YouTube. So if you just type in History Buffs, I'm like the first 5 videos. Mm-hmm. This is basically where I where I review historical movies and tell you how accurate it was. So you could go on YouTube, find me there, or you can go on Twitter. So it's like History Buffs _ Twitter, or you can go on Facebook, which is History Buffs London, and you can find all my videos up on there. Just released a video for my favorite historical inspirations behind Game of Thrones, doing The Patriots, and then the next one's The Ghost in the Darkness. So
nice.
That's my plug.
All right, there you go. You guys should totally watch it. They have way higher production values than our shows. He's got like animation. Like Nick, you'd be horrified when you watch the videos, the intro videos on Rage Select, where like I'll be like, well, what do I have here? Like every time we go to do one of these intros, I like start looking around them, and it's like, well, okay, we need like a hockey mask. I'm like, I don't have a hockey mask. We could just draw one on a piece of paper and then tape it to my puppet's face. You've got, like music and,
Yeah, but the thing is,
graphics.
though, that intro, I love the old school intros from back in the day, like whether it be the Simpsons or Game of Thrones or the Sopranos, the ones that last for 60 seconds long. I love all that stuff, but like everyone's been saying, the number one thing has been like, dude, your intro is like a wee bit too long. And I just guess it's because of the internet age. Like people just want to binge watch videos. So I guess like when I do season 2 of the show, I'm just going to have to completely scrap that intro and go with something similar to what we were doing in the loading bar or what you are doing now. Just 5 seconds, boom. Right, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe. I one of my favorite TV show opening credits is Breaking Bad. It lasts all of like 3 seconds. And it's just
it doesn't get me. It doesn't get me pumped up for the show. I mean, I tell you another one. I love Vikings. Vikings and Sopranos have the best intros ever. Like every time I watch it, I just turn up the volume. Like, yeah, I'm gonna have some fun in this episode.
I think the problem is the binge watching age, man. Is I'll be watching. They'll put out the whole season of House of Cards on Netflix, and I'll go to watch it. By the third episode, I'm like, I know, it's the Capitol. The flag is upside down. Kevin Spacey's in it. Come on, just get to the fucking shit. I want to play. I want to see it.
Oh, yeah, I guess.
All right, well, in any case, we have questions to answer. We can't just spend the entire time talking about our favorite TV intros. Cheers. That's a very good one. I like that one a lot. This first one comes in from Christian, who says, "Hey, everyone. So I freely admit I'm stealing this question from another podcast, but I thought it was clever and worth asking you guys." Good. I'm not even ripping other people off these days. Our viewers are ripping off other podcasts. But I thought this was relevant for you, Nick, because last week the Queen of England has officially reigned for longer than any other British monarch in history. So in honor of Her Majesty, what do you think the greatest video game monarch is? Love the show. Keep up the good work, Christian. So what do you think, Nick? Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite king or queen or duke? Duke Nukem.
Duke.
That is the greatest video game monarch of all time, Duke Nukem.
It's not a monarch, dude. That's like the part of the aristocracy.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I think the Jarl from Skyrim.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that? Like, that place was like what was it? No, it's not Winterfell. What was the name of that place?
I'm trying to remember, but you said Winterfell, and now that's all that's in my brain.
Stuck in my it's basically like every time you go to see him, he's always just like posing on that throne of his.
Yeah, he's always got his legs like wide open. He's just pointing his junk directly at you. Yeah,
his name's like Jarl Balgriff or something.
Yeah, because Jarl is just like a title. That's not like it's not his name, right? It's just
It means yo. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Helgen. No. Ulfric Stormcloak. Riverwood. That was Riverwood, and then you go from Riverwood to where do you go from Riverwood? Player escapes.
What about the Emperor from The Witcher 3? The one played by Richard Dance, I think. The guy who plays Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones.
I didn't get that far in Witcher 3.
He was in the... What? Did you play the fucking game?
Yeah. Oh,
you see the Emperor after 5... Yeah.
Okay, no, yeah. Whiterun? Is that the name of the...
That's right. Yeah. It was Whiterun.
Wow, you're good. That was Jarl Balgriff the Greater. See, it's funny because you were like, this guy's like, who's the greatest video game royal of all time? And you're just like, what about the Jarl from Skyrim? What about the guy? And I'm just like, Princess Zelda? Princess Peach? Like, King Koopa? That's a good question. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who was reigning well in a video game. Like you're constantly having to take down people. Like who is the guy, the Bloody Baron in Witcher 3, who's just like, dude, I just feel dirty being around you. You're gross. I just want to stab that guy and take over this place for myself. Your dudes are assholes. You're an asshole. I don't care. Like, the only claim to the Bloody Baron's fame is that he didn't immediately, like, murder and sexually assault the girl, right, that you're trying to find out about. I'm like, dude, I'm a witcher. I've got special magical powers and 2 swords, and you're just like, well, I tell you what, I'm not going to tell you this meager bit of information until you go out and, like, destroy this ancient evil that has enslaved my stupid wife. No, the wife wasn't stupid. She just ran away because he was beating her up. So that was all right. That was all right. Your wife was all right. But that guy, what an asshole. What a stupid fucking ass-face asshole. I don't care that he's sad. Be sad, ass-face. You're terrible.
I don't feel nearly as bad as like for the muggers who think they can take Geralt in a fight, sprint throughout the world because you're famous in the game. You know, like everyone's heard of the White Wolf. These guys think they can take you down. I think it's one mission that like there's 3 of us and 1 of you. I think we can take our chances, and I'll be like, no, you can't. It's trust me.
Yeah. I really don't know why. Yeah, I really don't know why the fuck they ever do that.
Sorry, we're off topic again. I gotta stop doing that.
I'm looking up some other queens and kings in video games that people can make their own decision. Yeah, well, there's King Graham, right, from King's Quest, right? Probably one of the most regarded kings in video games.
That was that king in Far Cry 4? He proclaimed himself as king. The main bad guy, Troy Baker, plays.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I just said his name was in my head just a second ago. Come on, brain. This is why we do this podcast with a frickin' keyboard and the internet right in front of me. Because now I can think of it as Voss. It's Voss, right?
Hagen Min.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. King DDD. King Foltest. King Foltest was cool. King Foltest from The Witcher 2. Like he was.
Yeah, he was cool.
He was rad. The Burger King from Sneak King.
Doesn't count, man.
The King of Cosmos. That's a good one from Katamari Damacy. He was a crazy, insane fuckface that we all loved. Let's see. King from Tekken. It's getting a little weird here.
Shut up, man. Let's get on with it.
I'm looking at an actual forum thread right now. So, there was some good aristocracy in the. I mean, not to bring it back around to the Souls franchise, but just some good aristocracy in the Souls franchise between King Gwyn in Dark Souls and old King Doran in original Demon Souls. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. Actually, you know what? I want to find a few more queens for this list, but it's hard to find them because queens. This is Wikipedia. Queens characters in video games. The Dark Queen from Battletoads. That doesn't count.
There are no many queens. There's always princesses.
Yeah, Sarah Kerrigan, the Queen of Blades from StarCraft. Okay, that's fair enough. Sindel, the Queen of Outworld from Mortal Kombat. Okay, I can deal with that as well. So yeah. All right, let's move on to our next question, which comes in from Slepmori something. I don't know. It says, greetings, Jeff and Nick. What are your opinions on walkthroughs or looking up the next step for games in general? For example, in The Phantom Pain, the game just suddenly stops at a certain point. It's not until you complete some side ops that the story gets going again. I'd already completed many side ops and just wanted to continue with the story. Just confused that it just suddenly stopped. Or when you are lost in other games / searching for that last item, and after 10 to 20 minutes of mindless searching, do you finally find it? I know some gamers have the viewpoint that you shouldn't use guides and walkthroughs and just experience the game naturally, but as an adult with a full-time job, I don't want to spend precious free time wandering around hoping I come across the answer. So with your job of playing video games on a daily basis, do you find yourself searching every nook and cranny and doing everything possible in hopes of discovering the answer, or do you search for a decent amount of time before looking up the answer in frustration? Your loyal listener and Patreon subscriber, Moria something. Yes. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. So, okay. Which is, I think, what that is. Anyway, so how do you feel about walkthroughs and FAQs, Nick?
I fall in them every now and again. I mean, just thinking about, I have no idea how I used to play games back in the day before the internet, So, I use them still now. I mean, I used to use them loads when I was on the loading bar, but I just don't have time to really just immerse myself in trying to go through every nook and cranny to find an answer. I mean, if I'm a little bit stuck and I'm frustrated, then I just look up online. I mean, I think only the most hardcore game purists will be the ones to tell you not to do that.
Yeah, I mean, he brings up a very good point, and so do you from back in the old days, that I've got a limited amount of time to beat these games. If I don't beat the game in a limited amount of time, chances are it's going to be very difficult for me to go back to it at a later date. So, me personally, I will give a game a reasonable amount of time because I feel like if you're reviewing a game, that it's one of the things that you should know. Like, right? I'm sorry, I'm not phrasing this very well. I still have this Google image page open full of video game queens, and there's some really weird shit going on, as happens whenever you have Google image open. So, okay, here we go. There's a reasonable amount of time to do a thing, and I would like to try to bang my head up against a thing for a reasonable amount of time. But like yesterday, I was playing Destiny, and they had this one quest line where they were like, you would get a quest, and it would be all question marks, right? Like the thing you were supposed to be doing would just be a bunch of question marks. So you just, you'd be running around, you'd be shooting people, and then like it would start filling in letters when you were shooting people, and eventually it would say like, you could read that it was like, get 20 precision shots on an enemy to finish this quest. I'm like, okay, all right, that's cool. So I got another one, and it was like, all right. And then I got one, and no matter what I did, it didn't seem to be moving. It didn't seem to be unpacking what that clue was. Like, I was shooting people, I was throwing grenades, I was doing like light attacks and stuff. And so then I looked it up online, and it was like, you were supposed to dance. You're supposed to do the dance emote in the game for like 30 seconds. And I'm like, that's great. I don't have time to come up with your fucking clever bullshit, right? I don't have time to literally try every single thing that there is to do in all of Destiny. I need to get things done, and I'm with our I'm not going to butcher your last name or your username again there, sir, but with our question asker, and like, and there's a certain amount of time where, you know what? What I always say is there's a moment where you can feel yourself getting ready to stop playing the video game. Like where you've been pissed off for 10 or 15, 20 minutes or however long it takes for you. There's a point where you can start to feel yourself getting like really upset and get ready to stop playing this game and go fuck yourself, video game. And at that point, I feel like it's totally on board to go find out the answer to your issue. Because if it's a question, but if it's a choice between you looking something up or stopping the game entirely, fucking A, go look it up. I mean, I can tell you right now that, like, as much as I'd like to say that I played through all of Dark Souls and found everything and et cetera, I totally didn't. I looked a lot of stuff up, or I would get tripped up and I'd be like, where the fuck am I supposed to go next? I'd spend 20 minutes looking to see where I was supposed to go and then be like, no, okay, time for the internet. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I also don't think that if you got people that are, like, looking down on you for doing that, you can tell them that Jeff says, go fuck yourself.
Right on, mate.
Yep. All right, this next one comes in from Nikita, who says, hello, Jeff and Nick. Mandatory comment about dongs in brackets. In response to the tidal wave of video game remakes, which games don't need to be remade? Having played Super Mario World recently, I was impressed by how well its graphics and controls held up. What other games, in your opinion, will stand the test of time? Thanks for reading and rage on, Nikita.
Not a sequel, just remade, like starting afresh.
You know how they do like the HD remakes and things like that. I think that's what this person's talking about. I'm sorry, Nikita could be the name of. I'm not sure if Nikita is a man or a woman. I don't know if Nikita can be a man's name. My only experience with that name is the missile in Metal Gear and the movie La Femme Nikita.
Nice one. Well, I'll be honest with you. I mean, like, since I just got the PlayStation 4, there's not that many games out, and I'm hungering for, like, the old games I used to be able to play. My PlayStation 3 died on me, which is one of the reasons why I got the PS4. And all I'm doing is I'm just wishing that they would remake a lot of my favorite games just so I could play them again. Mm-hmm. Like, I want there to be them to do another Metal Gear Solid trilogy collection, whatever.
Oh, for the PS4?
Yeah, I know they're doing it for Uncharted, which I'm absolutely getting. I mean, they have the PlayStation Now, and maybe I might go through it when the list gets expanded upon, but I just think it's fucking ridiculous that I've got to replay. I've got to buy. I've got to rent it. You know, for something like half the price for what I originally paid for it. You know what I mean?
Actually, PlayStation Now is now. I don't know if it's this way in Britain, but I don't know if you've been keeping track of this. But PlayStation Now is now a subscription service, I believe, where you can subscribe for You don't pay per game. You just buy a like $20 subscription or something, and then you're able to play all these different things.
Yeah, per month. But the thing is, I'm not going to be able to play that many games. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, how much does it cost? Is it like?
I think this is off the top of my head. I could be wrong, but it's like £8 or something for like 2 days, or like maybe a little bit more for 30 days.
Okay, that seems like a lot.
It is. I mean, it's just why I'm like, I don't want to necessarily play it, and it is aggravating when you have all these PS3 games just like lying around, and I just don't have the heart to trade them in or sell them. Mm-hmm. You know.
See, this says $20 a month or $45 per quarter. I don't know, man. Like, if you try that out and it seems like something that you would be interested in, $45 a quarter is not bad. Even though the game selection is a little bit limited there.
It's like 100 titles or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, though. I mean, I totally understand that. Getting access to that stuff is important. I honestly think that you would probably be better served just buying a used PlayStation 3. Let's see what Amazon has. I thought we did this. Did we do this before? Did we do this on the previous show? PlayStation 3. You buy a PlayStation. Oh, God, no. What the fuck? $219. What in the world are you talking about? 160 gig. Oh, that's an OG PlayStation. No, that's not. Why is that $424 for a 160 gig PlayStation 3? It's got to be some kind of bundle. There's somebody selling an 80 gig old PS3 for $100. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Look into maybe getting a used one. I mean, it sounds like getting like an older used one would probably.
It's like about 82 quid in the UK for like a 500 gigabyte one, which is used.
This one looks like it's from Sony on Amazon. It's 120 gig, the slim model for about $100. So I don't know. Anyway, but the answer to sorry, Nikita, we've totally just gone all berserking off the rails here. Okay, so you don't. I mean, when you think of things that don't need to be remade, what other games, in your opinion, will stand the test of time? Honestly, I think that for me, I think there's a lot of stuff from the PlayStation 3 era that doesn't need to be remade, which kind of goes directly against what you're saying, Nick. But I have a functional PlayStation 3, so I don't. I can still play on my PS3 games on there.
Screw you, man.
Hey, I didn't break your PlayStation, bitch. Come on.
No, my brother did.
Use all your history buffs money and get yourself a new PlayStation, or call Sony up and be like, I do a history podcast and I'd love to talk about the history of a PlayStation 3, but I've never had one before. Maybe if you just sent me one of every console that you made, I'd be able to get an accurate reading about what you're into. No.
How'd you get this number?
Yeah. Who are you? So I honestly think that the only stuff that really needs to be remade, in my opinion, are some of the older PS2 games and then stuff from like the PlayStation 1 era.
Time Crisis. There we go. I don't see any reason for that game to be remade.
Do you see any reason to play that game at all?
No, but they could do it. I mean, they're doing the Guitar Hero. Like, I mean, like they're remaking a Rock Band, so you have to buy a guitar for that. But with Time Crisis, you have to buy yourself like another gun or something, or that they would put in shotguns and machine guns, all of that. Just be more clutter around your house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with video game remakes. As long as actually no, okay. I don't have much of a problem with video game remakes. As long as it doesn't keep companies from making another game, which is the only reason I think that there's a serious problem, right? If the company, what is the name of them? I've forgotten everybody's name today. The company that made Dishonored, right? They put out an HD or like a pack of Dishonored and then all the DLC on the PlayStation 4 that you could download. Arcane Studios. If that's keeping them from making Dishonored 2, well then fuck that, because nobody needs. Dishonored was fine when it came out. There's no reason to put it out to try for another cash grab on the PS4. But as far as I could tell, I mean, I don't really have a serious issue with anybody putting anything out on the PlayStation 4. As far as if I was to choose though games that I feel need remaking, it would be PlayStation 1 stuff. Like, go back and remake some PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah. Like Metal Gear Solid.
Like Metal Gear Solid. Yes, that's all I'm talking about is Metal Gear Solid. Remake Metal Gear Solid for the love of God, please. And you know what? I got into it with somebody. You know what? A few weeks ago, I think we were talking about, it might have been when you and I were talking about it. I was talking about how every game in the franchise, except for one, is available in HD. And people are like, what about Twin Snakes? And I'm like, I don't like Twin Snakes. And people are like, somebody in the comments was like, I think you're being too hard. It's fine, man. It's fine. Like, the guy that did the direction, the guy that was the director of Versus, went in and was faithfully remaking the cutscenes in the Twin Snakes to be exactly what they were in the original Metal Gear. And Kojima himself was like, no, dude. No, I don't just want one of those. Do something cool. Like, do your own thing. And so he was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, okay. So he went and made his own cutscenes. All I want is the ability to sit down with one console at this point, whether it's PlayStation or at least just the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4 for Metal Gear Solid 5. But with the PlayStation 3, I want the ability to sit down and play all of the Kojima-directed games the way that Kojima directed them and have them not look like a bunch of blocky shit. And the only one of those that doesn't work is Metal Gear Solid. Like, I have to find my GameCube, find my copy of Twin Snakes, put it in, and it's not even HD. It's still an SD. It's a GameCube, right? It was never made for full. It's not full 1080p. It's a 4x3 fucking bullshit. So yeah, I just like, I'm not saying that Twin Snakes should be erased from history or that if you like it, you're a garbage person. I just want the original Metal Gear Solid to be in the format that now we are able to play every single one of the other Metal Gear games in. Sorry. Ugh.
Yeah.
Every time I criticize Twin Snakes, somebody's like, I think you're just being stupid. I think your brain is full of poop and spiders, and your dick is small, and you don't know what you're talking about.
I still think it's better than MGS5. That's all I'm saying. So I'm okay with Twin Snakes.
I don't have any serious problem with Twin Snakes, but I look at it as a spin-off. Like, I don't want Twin Snakes to be the definitive version of Metal Gear Solid 1. It's like, to me, it's like an alternate kind of like, it's like an HD remaster. It's a spin-off thing, and I want the original version because, you know what? I can play Metal Gear Solid 3 with all the cutscenes the way that they were supposed to be. I can play Metal Gear Solid 2 with all the cutscenes and all the dialogue and everything the way they're supposed to be. I can play Metal Gear Peace Walker and 4 and 5 and all blah, 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 blah. But I can't play 1 except in the original PlayStation version, which it's very weird that I'm bitching this much about it because after you and I get done recording, John and I are going to start our next sequential playthrough for patrons, and it's going to be the PlayStation 1 version of Metal Gear Solid. So I should probably just reel it in a little bit, Jeff. Just be a little bit easier here. As far as stuff that doesn't need to be remade, I just think as long as there's a reason for the remake to be done, as long as it adds something to the initial game, I don't have any real serious problems with it. And what other games, in your opinion, will stand the test of time? I think any well-made game will stand the test of time. I think that we'll look back on all kinds of stuff. I think you can tell a quality game when you play it. And, for example, I don't think Metal Gear Solid 5 will stand the test of time very well, but I think that Metal Gear Solid 3 still holds up today as a fun game.
Oh, God, yeah. That's my favorite.
All right, this next one is coming in from Jerry, who says, endowments upon ye, the founders of his holy dongness. I'm a loyal listener from the time of the first men in the land of Spill. I have a question regarding rewarding gameplay versus complexity. At Gamescom 2015, it was announced that Omega Force was developing a licensed Attack on Titan game. If you're familiar with the show, I didn't read the manga, the main form of ability for the characters above are gas canisters that take months to master. Personally, I think it would be totes balls awesome if there was a big learning curve to master this device. Question: what is your position on games that reward the player for taking the time to really learn a complex system in the game? What if you could play the game on easy and it's totally fine, but if you learn these other things as well, other game mechanics or side stories open up? And that's from Jerry.
I'm totally for it. I mean, in regards to The Witcher 3, it's still playable. Like, you still have sort of fun with it, but the more as the game progresses and you get you get better armor, better weapons, the game doesn't like make it as it doesn't keep up with you basically, so you feel like a badass. I hate those type of games where the game gets harder as you get better because there's no point to it. Like I want to be like I want to be Blade basically when you're in that like blood club and everyone's looking at you like, oh my god, he's such a badass, and you're like, I know, I could totally like cut all of you in half right now. So I do like that kind of rewarding system.
Yeah, I think that the difference being, what he's talking about is something I think more like, again, the only real thing that comes to mind is Dark Souls, right? Is a complicated system that if you try to just charge in and use that system and just like try to play Dark Souls like a third-person hack and slash game, you're going to die. You're going to get the shit kicked out of you.
Jeff, I was going to say that you should make that into your new T-shirt. Like, only thing I could think of is Dark Souls. And just put it on there.
Well,
because you say it enough, man.
Here's the thing is that I could also think of like Dota 2, and there's a few other things. I think that the problem that you're going to see here, Jerry, is that most video game playing people, and probably especially fans of Attack on Titan, which, no offense to fans of Attack on Titan, but it seems like most of the anime-inspired games that are out there, like Dragon Ball and Naruto and not Bleach. Anyway, there's another one that we seem to end up playing, like One Piece and the Gundam games. They all seem to be very simple games. They seem to be less about like a very complex game system and more about, oh my god, you see that's the guy from the show. That's totally, and I'm controlling the guy from the show. What? So the problem I think you would have with having an Attack on Titan game where the mobility systems were super difficult to use, but then rewarding you if you're able to use them, is you have to give the players something to do in the meantime while they're learning to master that device, right? If you throw them into the game and they're just shitty at the game, it's a super hard game, and the players are all super shitty at it unless they're willing to put in 2 hours a day of practice to get good at it. Technically, that's very rewarding, but most people are just going to be like, yeah, fuck that. I'm going to go back and play Dynasty Warriors, right? Or I'm going to play something else that I already... I mean, even Dark Souls eases you into that stuff, and it throws you off the deep end a few times, but I mean, I understand the learning curve versus reward thing, because like Dota 2 is just inscrutable to me. It's such a complex and dense system that it requires so much time from a person just to be able to play it, badly. Not even to be able to play it well, but you need to put hours into that game just to understand how shitty you actually are at it. Only the most dedicated of people is going to be willing to play something like that and to keep up with it, if it's not in any way, shape, or form accessible in the beginning. So, I don't know. But I hope that the Attack on Titan game isn't just lock on and then jam on the button until the Titan goes down. Like, I hope it has some, finesse to it.
Oh, it looks like it in the trailer.
Yeah. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, it's one of the most important things in video games is the opening of the video game, right? It's one of the first 5 to 10 minutes of any video game is incredibly important. Super, super important. And I know because half of the show is nothing but us playing the first 5 to 10 minutes of every video game that comes out. And some video games will hook you, and they'll get their claws in early, and you'll be like, ooh, I can't wait to see what happens next. And some will spend a long time getting started to the point where you're just like, okay, right. That's just really, really important. All right, we got a couple more questions and we're done. First one comes in from Carl. Carl says, hello, Jeff and Nick. So it has been said that this year in gaming has been a stellar one. For thus far, I have been content. The Witcher 3, Helldivers, and Journey on the PS4 have all kept me happy. However, I look at what's been and what is coming, and there's a considerable lack of diversity in the lineup of the most talked about games. I do not mean diversity in terms of being something other than a white guy. That's not what I mean, but it is linked to it. I mean as a genre. As much as I like and enjoy action RPGs or playing a fun shooter from time to time, I don't want all my games to be that. Most games have centered around the relentless goal of killing people with side missions updating your kill map. Yet in the industry, we have examples like Journey. Carl, boy, you gotta iron this shit out a little bit. We have examples like Journey of a game that can be great without the typical cornerstones of gaming. Maybe the reason we lack diversity of people in games in the industry is because of the lack of diversity in video game projects. I love games, and I've played them since I was 5, and I've never looked back. I think it's about time that everyone felt okay. The fact that gaming, like anything else, is an extension of the human experience, and by extension, just as complex and diverse. Carl. Ooh, Carl, laying down those heavy questions.
I don't know. I mean, like, I definitely see his point, and I'm always up for new genres being used. But like, I don't know. I'm looking at for example, my DVD collection, and I can't. I'm really having a hard time finding a movie where someone doesn't get killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And the same thing with my game collection. I think they all have violence in them in some shape or form.
I mean, I think that so here's the thing. It's something that's very visceral, right? It's something that's a very visceral type of experience, and I think it's one of the things that video games are based on. It's a thing that comes up, I feel like, a lot when you see people doing these very critical videos and critiques and op-ed pieces and stuff about video games, where they're like, I don't understand why video games have to be so violent all the time. And it's like, well, they don't have to be violent all the time, but violence, especially the simulated violence of a video game, is like a cheat code for getting a player involved, right? You hand my avatar a giant sword and shove a bunch of puny goblins at him and let him just jump up in the air, spin around, and smash them all to a pulp. I get a little jolly, a little squirt of hey, violence, awesome. Like, it taps some kind of dumb caveman part of me. Whereas if you have a game like Journey, like, if you were to just sit down with Journey and not know anything about it, and you were in the mood to play something violent, you would probably go, well, this is stupid. Or, God, at least Journey has an avatar in it. Can you imagine, Nick, what it would be like if you got like somebody that was into Halo and you were like, all right, man, come over here. I'm going to show you this game. Everybody's been talking about it. It's super awesome. Here's a controller. I'm going to turn it on. This game is called Flower. You're going to love it. And just watch that person just go like, what the fuck is this? Be like, you're the wind. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm the wind.
What makes you think I would like this?
Yeah. What in the...
Get out!
How do you... but you collect rose petals from flowers and you blow color into the world. Be like, dude, are you having a stroke? I like to shoot things with a rocket launcher.
This game blows.
So here's the thing, Carl, is that if you're going to have something that doesn't have that component to it, one, you're going to need to be marketing it to people who are not your core group of video gamers. Or not, I mean, not necessarily. I'm not saying that like every single game that we're all a bunch of violent zombies out there, like musket, sniper rifle, or anything like that, right? But we're used to a lot of video games that are based on violence, and so when you get something like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, right? That came out earlier this year. That is what they call a walking simulator, where you're walking around and you're listening to these lights that are kind of telling you the stories of the people who used to live in this village. If you're in the mood for that, then and you're fully aware of what you're getting into, it could be cool. But I got to tell you, that game right now is not going to sell as much as Halo or Hitman or,
I mean, violence is exciting. And I'll say that. I mean, like, the only time I ever played Journey is when I'll just have like a random mood of just like wanting to sink in my sofa and just sort of relax and not think too hard, because you don't have to worry about that with Journey, like of anyone shooting you any second.
Mm-hmm.
You just go off and sort of do your own thing. But I don't know. I mean, if you look at the Hollywood blockbusters and see how many of them have violence in them, it'd be quite similar to video games, I'm sure.
Well, you know what? I think that it kind of comes back to Carl's point, right? And this is one of those things that I always try to keep in mind. They are going to market the shit. Oh, just okay. Let me put this in terms that are very real. The people will very much understand. So next week, no, this month is bad for that. Okay, fuck it. We'll just pick one at random. Halo, right? Halo 5. Halo 5 is coming out before the year is out. It's a big release. It's a big thing. It's going to be all kinds of blasting and shooting and power armor and space marines and all this stuff, right? they are going to market the ever-loving shit out of Halo 5. You're not going to be able to turn around and not see a commercial for Halo 5. It's going to be Halo 5, Halo 5, Halo 5. Look, it's Master Chief. Look, it's Nathan Fillion. Look, here's one with a rock soundtrack, and people are blowing shit up. How awesome is that? And everybody's going to be like, cool. By the same token, the same week that Halo 5 comes out, there's going to be a bunch of crazy games on Steam. Like, hey, check out this game that's about this clever mechanic, or here's something that was an indie published title but people are really interested in. Hell, okay, the same week that Halo comes out, so does WWE 2K16, something called Albert and Otto, the new Binding of Isaac, and something called Bulb Boy. Like, there's always games coming out that are not these big violent action franchises, but look at it the exact same way that you look at the summer blockbuster thing. They don't spend zillions of dollars during the summer putting advertisements on TV for Cop Car. You know, that with that Kevin Bacon movie, right, where it's about these two kids that find a cop car and this cop is coming after them, right? This little indie movie about the kids in the summertime, right? They're never going to spend as much money shoving that in your face as they are Age of Ultron, because they know that Age of Ultron is going to make a shitload of money and that Cop Car is going to be a niche thing for people that are more interested in kind of indie stuff. So I think that, honestly, Carl, that stuff is all out there that you're talking about, and there's plenty of people out there in the industry that are working for that stuff. You're never going to see, though, the ads for stuff not be Halo, Battlefront, the new Hitman, you know, the new Deus Ex, the new big title things, because they know that's what sells. The big amounts of violence sell, and that's where they're going to put their advertising dollars. The day that everybody goes to the Rapture is a surprise hit that makes a fucking $40 million is the day that companies are going to start ripping off walking simulators and making more story-focused things. But generally speaking, people don't buy things like that in a huge amount. So anyway, that's all that is. Did you have anything to add, Nick? I'm sorry. I feel like
No, that was a good roundup there. I mean, like, violence sells. You know,
Yep.
like it's a way to keep the player invested and add a layer of excitement. I don't play Journey to be particularly invested or to be sort of excited. You know,
Yeah.
I love that game. I think it's brilliant, but that's not going to be something I'm going to crank out again and again and again. It'll just be when the mood takes me, basically.
You know, you can go and you can look at there's psychological studies that have been done. If you show humans fire, they get excited, right? That's why all those like charbroiled hamburger ads have like a piece of meat and fire on the grill, because as a mammal, as a dumb monkey man, you see fire and you're just like, whoa, hey, whoa. Oh, because your body's like, whoa, watch out, there's danger there, right? So you're going to have a much more visceral reaction to violent fire, explosions, lasers, you know, go, 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 screamy, screamy, yelly, yelly, than you're going to have in, like, the quiet contemplation of what it's like to be an old woman or something. Like I don't even know. Walking across the sand with your buddies in Journey. Journey's great, but here's the thing. Journey's like a 4 or 5 hour game. If Journey was 12 hours long, I don't think anybody would be into it. They'd just be like, oh, boy, more of this, really? Flower takes like an afternoon to finish. You just be like, out on the wind. And that's smart, because I don't think that you could keep that up. On the other hand, I ran through 12 hours of Destiny in the last few days, just like no problem. Just like, poof, done, because it was like, yeah, shoot, reload, fucking throw a grenade. So... Anyway, one last question. This one's just for fun. This one comes from Jeremy, and Jeremy says, Dearest Jeffrey and Nicholas, boobs or butts? Since middle school, I consider myself a boob man. However, a few years ago, I realized I much prefer the look of a woman with large hips / booty and small chest over a busty woman with no butt. However, having both is ideal. Anyway, which are you? Thanks, gentlemen. Jeremy. And Nick, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. I don't know if you're embarrassed about your ass / boobs preferences.
No, I'm not. This is like an age-old question. Mm-hmm. I just love both, really. But I don't know.
That's a cop-out answer, man. It's a cop-out answer.
An arse, but like a big arse, but like one that's been working out in the gym hardcore.
Yeah.
You know? Damn.
I want a big hard ass. That's what you're saying?
Basically, I'll watch a Nicki Minaj video and I'll turn the music off.
Okay.
Just watch that. That'll give you an idea.
I can honestly say that like I'm just like the butts thing. It's passed me by. Like I think Nicki Minaj is fucking great looking, right? And I recognize that I like this guy sent in some pictures of ladies with big old juicy butts, right? Mix-a-lot style. And I'm not. It's not like if I meet a girl and she's got a big ass that I'm going to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I only like teeny tiny asses. But like, the world is obsessed with huge. Like people are getting butt implants. They're getting implants in their asses to make their asses bigger. And I'm just like, oh, come on now. This is ridiculous. The butts are not that important, are they? Are they that important?
No, they're not.
Okay. Call me contentious for not answering either one of his questions. I'm more of a leg man myself, but yeah.
Or tummies.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
God damn.
But I don't mind a bit of a. I've dated some ladies with some butts that weren't exactly, my anaconda did want some, and they didn't have buns, hun. So
you're so white.
You are correct. That is correct. I am the whitest man on this planet. No. So yeah, I like, but here's the thing: is that it seems like culture in general is just like, man, look at this ass, and I'm just like, yeah, that seems all right. It seems like it might be hard to find jeans. Like probably a little bit harder to get into them. At the top. So anyway, all right, cool. Well, we've answered that, and that puts the wraps on another Rage Select podcast. That is now I've just got this webpage open with all these women with big butts on it, and I'm going to have to close this webpage. All right, let's wrap this up. Nick, thanks so much for coming by and answering questions about asses, as always.
Thank you for having me on.
We're going to change this next week to the Ass Select podcast, where we just rate butts just for like 3 or 4 hours. So, yes, everybody, if you haven't yet, you should go and subscribe and like and go to Nick's page, History Buffs, on Facebook, on Twitter. You should also like and subscribe to Rage Select on Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all those rest of those places as well. Mail@rageselect.com is the email address, and we're going to go ahead and call it a day. I think I need to go look at this webpage a little bit more. So, Nick, I'll talk to you next week. I need to start my top 100 butts countdown.
All right, nicely done. See you then.